guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to address what to do whenever you're just like stressed to the max. This past week I've just been really stressed with a lot of things going on and things that I'm trying to do and deadlines that I'm having to meet, and I was just really anxious and just overwhelmed in the first half of the week, but slowly by the end of the week I became less anxious by implementing these things. And then I was like, I feel like a lot of people go through this like on a weekly basis or at least a monthly basis, where there's just like that 1 week out of the month or every few months where you're just like over it, done, and like just way too over processed. But not everybody knows how to healthily like come down from that and how to come down from it quickly. But I just thought I would share a few of these tips that I've learned through just my years of life and mentorship of like what people have spoken over me, as well as just like with studying what I've learned in psychology of how to address things like anxiety and stress. So I figured I'd share those with you guys. Also, did you guys know cherries were in season? I had no idea. I totally forgot cherries even existed as a fruit, but we got some the other day and I have been addicted to eating them all the time. So I have my little cup with me to eat while I talk. Alright, so first thing to do whenever you are feeling just really overwhelmed, anxious, or stressed is breathe. And I know everyone says that because they're like, oh, just breathe and it'll be fine. But I'm going to explain to you guys why breathing a certain way is actually psychologically proven to calm you down. So when psychologists typically tell you to breathe in order to calm yourself down, there's a sequence that most of them follow, like a general sequence, that is used because there is physiological data that backs up why it's the most calming. So what you do is you breathe in for 5 seconds, you hold for 3 seconds, and you let out for 5 seconds. So it's like the 5-3-5 rule. So whenever you breathe in, you have to really be very intentional about just going like, hold, breathe out. And if you do that enough times, you slowly start to calm yourself down. Here's the science behind it. When you're in a stressful situation, the limbic system in your brain kicks in to do the fight or flight response. And when you do that, typically it makes the rest of your brain more efficient by kind of like just like bypassing other areas and only going through the circuitry of like, this is what we need right now to get done whatever needs to get done so we can survive. That means that the prefrontal cortex, which is like basically your entire forehead, kind of gets not shut off, but just like bypassed. Like it's not the first option that it goes through. But the prefrontal cortex is responsible for all types of decision making, regulating emotions and behavior whenever it comes to you consciously regulating them, and all other things that we use to just become more adult humans. Like that's what develops last in the brain whenever you're 25. So whenever it bypasses that and it doesn't use that, it just is going to act on whatever emotions are right here, which is all of the anxious emotions or the anger emotions or the fight emotions or the freeze emotions, just all those basic core human behaviors that we have, that even kids have, is right there in that center area, where this front area is like waiting to be used, but it's not first accessed because it's not deemed efficient at first whenever you are in that fight or flight mode. Think of it just like flipping your lid. So this is like your rest of your brain that everyone has, like whenever they're born basically, and even animals have this because animals have a fight or flight response. Prefrontal cortex is what separates us from animals. Like that's what makes humans able to express emotions and have emotions, along with being able, to speak and stuff. But whenever it comes to emotional regulation, this is what makes us human, is this prefrontal cortex that wraps basically in front of the front half of the brain and helps us then regulate everything that goes in on this area more consciously. When you freak out, this is basically what happens. Bang! And so the only thing you're operating on is this core brain area, and the prefrontal cortex is just kind of like not there. What the breathing does, the breathing technique does, is it almost brings that prefrontal cortex back into remembrance, back into action. It kind of slowly makes this area become less numb and bypassed and more to like be used and capable to really look at your situation and determine what actually needs to be done and what emotions need to be addressed, felt, or nipped in the bud. So the breathing technique of the 5-3-5, that is literally so important because of that exact reason. It's what makes us able to regulate our emotions more, and then thus makes us able to see our anxieties or our stress for what it really is and not just the emotions behind it. Because usually our emotions work up all the other stuff, and then we actually write it out or we say it out to a friend and we're like, oh, it doesn't actually sound that bad once I say it out loud, but in my head it was crazy. So step 1, breathe. Step 2 is what I typically do is if I'm overwhelmed with deadlines or things I have to get done or trying to remember a bunch of stuff, I make a list. I journal. You can look at my last video, I'll link it down below, of the benefits of prayer journaling or just journaling in general. So that helps a lot as well to get your emotions out and calm you down. But making a list of tasks that you need to get done is also very beneficial when you're feeling stressed out, because it puts it out in a very organized manner, in a very simple manner of like, oh, let's just address this first, this first, this first, this first, or whatever. And then you can look at it from a different perspective of not just like it swirling around in your head, but more from of like, okay, these are the bullets that I need to attack, and we're gonna just address it one at a time. Next is something that should have been addressed first, but at the same time can be just addressed and done throughout this whole process of calming down from being stressed, is just going to God and asking him just like genuinely, like, God, I'm feeling really stressed out right now. Please help me calm down. Please overtake my emotions and give me peace. I surrender all my cares to you, and then instead I will take your cares upon myself. I only want to care about what you want to care about, because I know as I do that, then those are the things that are the most meaningful, that really need to be accomplished, not just the other things that are going around in my head that are making me feel stressed out that I need to address or think about or dwell on, but whatever you think, whatever is worthy, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, like just all of those, quote the scriptures over yourself. That's a big one. Just find any type of scripture that really speaks to you in that moment, whether it be ones about anxiety, ones about having cares not of this world, whether it be ones about having joy in the midst of trials, or the transforming of the renewing of your mind. Like any of those, just quote them over yourself and speak them out loud if you have to, because that is just proven to immediately have the grace of God just come in and hold you and carry your emotions and calm you down in the areas that you need to be. Next, I would say put on some music. Music is very powerful, especially when it comes to like adjusting your mood. Like it really can affect your mood very easily. So I just put worship on and like force myself into a different emotion. Like if I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed or sad or anxious, I will put on worship music and like basically sing myself into the belief that I know I can be completely capable of stepping into this new state of emotions, of stepping into peace, stepping into joy, stepping into clear-mindedness, that I don't have to just wait for it to happen, that I can choose to say, I'm going to step into this because God has given me access to it, so why not access it? And sometimes I'm not strong enough to do it on my own. So if I sing words that someone else has written in song form and I use that to usher me into that place, go do it, whatever works, as long as you're speaking truth over yourself and speaking life into your situations. Like God will honor that and he'll use that to help you. Next, if you are still feeling stressed out even after all of these things and it's not working, I'm being so dead serious when I say drop to the floor and do like 11 push-ups. If you can't get that sort of mental energy and stress out mentally, get it out physically, get it out somewhere else. Just start and like work, because it's just like heat energy spiraling in your brain. That's what thoughts are composed of, is just energy. So why not just decompress it? If you have to drain it, just decompress it by working out. They say working out, like, of course, it reduces stress, but if you don't have time to go do like a full-on like run or workout somewhere, just like drop to the floor in the public bathroom. I don't care. Wash your hands later. Do 11 push-ups, do some jumping jacks, do some squats, whatever works. I used to do this in college all the time whenever I'd go. Whenever I was dual enrolling while I was still in high school, I would just go into like the bathrooms and just like do a few squats before going and taking a test, because it would like literally just calm me down, because all that mental energy that I was wasting trying to stress out, I was just like expelling through my arms doing some form of push-ups or like stretches in the bathroom, and I probably looked weird, but I didn't care because I walked out feeling so much better. Something else that really calms me down when I'm stressed out as well is playing with my dog. We have 2 dogs, actually. They're both asleep down here on the floor right now. And if I'm feeling stressed, I will go to one of them or both of them and just like get my face in theirs and just start playing with them, because they really do make me feel better. And they get my cares off of things like random stresses about school or deadlines or something, and just onto like caring about something else. So if you have a kid, or if you have like a nephew or a granddaughter or a grandson, go to them, play with them, pour your energy into that, because God honors us serving people. And if we're caring for somebody else, even if it's a dog or if it's some other form of like pet, like a cat or an iguana, whatever you're into, God honors us like taking our cares off ourselves and onto something else, and he will just give us that peace and that calmness to realize like it's not all about me in this world, and the world's not going to crash and burn if I don't like continue to think about all the things I have to get done. But if I have time, I can create time to care for others even in the midst of my stresses, and he'll honor that, and he'll give you joy or peace or something, because most of the time kids are literally like the funniest things ever, and they will give you some form of joy or some kind of humor typically. And then dogs almost always give you joy. There's like not a time in the world where you can't hang out with a dog and they don't give you joy of some form, unless they're like a menace of a dog, but that's really rare. So basically, go find an animal and play with them, or go find a small child. Has to be your child though. Either someone that's related to you, or your child that's your own, or your grandchild. Do not go around trying to go to play with other random kids. I promise you that will not relieve your stresses. So the last thing you can do to calm down your stresses is, after you've gone through most of these things from this list and you're still feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and just like you can't just get over it, and it just feels like it's constant on you, I'm telling you right now, through the name of Jesus Christ, you gotta nip it in the bud. You control your mind and you control your thoughts. They don't control you, not the other way around. The healthy way to go about going with these emotions and dealing with emotions, whether it be stress, anxiety, anger, anything, is know that you can feel them, but you're just not meant to dwell in them. So if you have felt anxious, or if you have felt stressed and you allow yourself to, you don't suppress it, but you just let yourself feel stress, and then you work through the stages of calming yourself down. If you are still choosing to dwell in that stress, whether you think you're choosing or not, because I know anxiety is a real thing, trust me, you still have control over your mind to say, I'm going to redirect this, because God did not call me to live in anxiety. God did not call me to live in a constant state of mental exhaustion and stress. And it's so much healthier for you. And it's honestly what most psychologists talk about, especially Dr. Carolyn Leaf. She's a Christian psychologist of many different talents, and she just says you have to nip it in the bud. Give yourself a few minutes to process it, cry, scream, work out, do whatever, but then once that timer goes off that you have set, you have to tell yourself, I can't control my situations, but I can control how I react to them. I let myself respond for now, but I'm choosing not to dwell in it. And then you just move on. Sounds crazy, but as a Christian, you have the power to do that. You have the capability to do that, not through your own strength, but because God has that available to you, and you have full access to it. So if you want to say, I'm going to control my thoughts and move on, I'm going to control my thoughts and start building new thought trees that are less prone to anxiety or to stress or to freaking out in general, you can do that, and you should do that, and you have full power and ability and freedom to do that. So I will urge you to do it. Like, in the name of Jesus, do it, because it is freeing, and it is so amazing to learn how to deal with your emotions healthily. You can be stressed, you can be sad, you can be anxious, you can be upset and aggravated, but you're not meant to dwell in any of those emotions. We are meant to just go like this through our emotions and not stay in any state of emotion for any long period of time. And I can promise you guys that this works. This is something that I have dealt with for a while, of learning how to control my stresses and anxieties and emotions. And sometimes it does get the best of me. Like just yesterday, I was not doing too hot. But then I had to stop and really just breathe, take control of my thoughts, go to God, ask for help, ask Him to help me reorient my mood and my emotions to start working towards that healthier state of mind. I put on worship music, I played with my dog, I made some list of everything that I need to do, and then I looked at it and realized, like, okay, that's not that bad. I can handle that. I can do it one at a time, and we're just going to keep going. And even though I still felt stressed, if I gave in to the stress, I found that the anxiety symptoms got way worse and nothing got accomplished, and I didn't even feel good. But when I started to really just take control of my thoughts and be like, Rihanna, like, you know this works. It's worked in the past. Just do it again. It's hard, but do it again. And I would just speak over myself that, like, I'm not going to let myself live in anxiety, because it's making me really unproductive right now, and I have a lot to do. So I would just like move on. Just move on. Even if you have to leave the room that kind of makes you feel anxious. Like for me, it was my bedroom, because I was packing and trying to get school done. Anytime I walked in, I would just think about my problems. So I just walked away, played with the dog for a bit, walk back into my room with a different mental state and just did one item at a time, but through a different mindset, through a healthy mindset of I'm capable, I'm not anxious, because God is not giving me a spirit of fear or anxiety, but a spirit of like courage and self-control. And I'm going to access that because I have a good God who's given me the availability to that. So why not use it? But I really pray that these few steps help you guys whenever you're feeling stressed as well. This is for people of all ages, men and women. It really does not matter. We all have the same limbic system. So there's a way to get around it and to deal with it healthily and to get that prefrontal cortex back into action again. And I really pray that you guys are able to implement this, that this is called to remembrance whenever you are feeling stressed some other time, and that you guys will be able to live a life free of constant stress. You can be stressed, but it doesn't have to be constant, guys. So I'm just praying that you guys like this video. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have more videos like this that I will link down below. But I will see you guys next week for my next video. Did anyone ever tie cherry stems whenever they were a kid? Because I'm about to do this. Ta-da! Booyah!